Welcome back. As usual, we're back at it again with another drawing, and of course it's gotta be food. Recently I drew up this really crazy fruit flash sheet. God, that's a tongue twister to say, but I figured this mango piece was my favorite one on the page and that it would be a shame if I didn't color it up. I didn't do the color rendering on any of the pieces of the flash sheet, so this is a great way for my clients to visualize and see kind of how I would color it in if it were to be a tattoo, and just so they see how my mind kind of visualizes things. I think that's definitely one thing I have to remember when it comes to my clients, is that they might not have that creative bone in their body, much like I do. So I think I just assume that people know what I'm talking about when I say, hey, I'm gonna tattoo this on you, let's do these colors and go with it. But I'm definitely lucky enough to have a lot of really good clients who just trust in the process and trust what I'm doing based off of the pictures that I post on social media and through my YouTube and whatnot. So I think because of that, that is why I have so much trust within my clients. They love me. But one thing I can definitely recommend if you're starting out as a tattoo apprentice or just an illustrator, always finish your drawings and do a full color rendering or shading rendering, whatever it may be and whatever your style is. That way, like I said, especially if you're a tattoo artist, your clients can see how you like to shade things, and it gives them a better perspective or better idea of what to expect from you, unless they're very stuck on a specific style or shading technique. But if you're here because you have a specific interest in new school, I should probably give you more new school related tips. That way you guys can take what I know and apply it to your own technique or style. Tip number one I can give you is read up on or study light source. In my opinion, light source can be one of the most important factors of a new school tattoo design, because it really shows the depth and dimensions of a new school piece, especially when you have something that's very exaggerated, like larger eyes or a larger head. But with light source comes contrast. You will definitely see some very contrasting shadows when it comes to a 3D object. With the light source, you need to really have an understanding of how light wraps around an object. That way you can properly put your shades in a way that makes the shape of the object make sense. I know I'm not too far into the coloring and especially the detail shade work at this moment, but I'll definitely point it out later on in the video once I get to it. Specifically when it comes to the leaf here, there will be a shadow cast underneath it. So you will see me place a shadow kind of to the side of it, not directly underneath it, but a little more to the side, because the light source and the way the shadow is cast will definitely vary on where the light source is. As for tip number two, I would definitely suggest playing around with proportions and exaggerating features of a normal object, because the exaggerated features in new school are what make new school new school. So in my pieces, for example, I tend to add big exaggerated eyeballs, but if you want to keep it a little more normal looking, what you can do is exaggerate the leaf or exaggerate the stem. So exaggerating mean making it bigger, much like I did with the stem. However, I didn't make the stem too big because I didn't want that to be the focal point of my piece. I believe that whatever element of the picture you make the biggest or exaggerated the most is where the main focus is going to be. So in reference to my designs, like the eyes, I typically want those to be the focal point, and that's where your eye is naturally going to be drawn to look first. However, there's many different ways I could have exaggerated different parts of this mango. For instance, I could have made this peeled up part of the mango a lot bigger, that way it would have become the main focal point. But instead, I made it small because the eyes take up so much of the piece anyways. Another way I could have done it is make that leaf a lot larger, but to be honest, I didn't really want the green to drown out the beauty of the orange, yellow, and green, because that's a very distinctive character of a mango. Tip number three is specifically about contrast, and referencing a little bit back to the first tip, contrast and light source really go hand in hand when it comes to designing, because without contrast, you wouldn't be able to see much of a light source, or where it's specifically coming from. And when I think about contrast, I think about light versus shadow, or dark versus light. So for example, when I'm tattooing, I tend to always have 5 different shades of one color. The one being extremely dark or even just black, and then the lightest one being white with 1 drop of the main color that I'm using. And I use this many shades because it gives me an opportunity to have a softer blend of my inks, which can be very difficult for some people to capture. But the smoothness of the object really depends on how soft or sharp you want your color to blend together. So that's definitely a factor that you want to keep in mind when you are drawing or rough sketching your design. Tip number 4 is more geared towards background versus foreground. And I know a lot of y'all are probably gonna say, but girl, you don't even do background, so why are you even blabbing about this? But I can say I do know a thing or two about background, so I'm not totally ignorant to the topic. But if there is ever the case where I do actually decide to add a background, one thing I like to keep in mind is that when I have the foreground or the main element, I typically like to make that a bit more vibrant and saturated in color. And then with the background, I will do a more toned down, muted, or even pastel shade of whatever colors in the background. And the best example I can give of this is when you're looking at a mountain range or a mountain landscape. When you have the mountains that are closest to you, they're quite dark, you can see the green very well and super defined. But when they get further back, they aren't as defined, and if you go further and further and further, you notice that the mountains almost just blend into the sky and kind of turn the same color, if that makes sense, but you can still see them a little bit. However, as they get further and further away, they get more muted and less vibrant, unlike the ones that are right in front of you. So when you are drawing a background, you will never want to go in and do a harsh black outline, because if it's further away, it's less defined, whereas the black line defines it a lot more than what it should be for the background. And in my case, I would use the medium shade or the one right smack dab in the middle in my color lineup. That way it looks a lot softer and not as defined as the foreground, which you obviously want to stick out way more and not get drowned or lost into the background. Tip number 5 is nothing too serious, but just have fun with your piece. Enjoy it, experiment, try new things. Because with new school, you never really know what it's gonna look like. It's just a fun way to explore and kind of test the boundaries, but it is honestly a great opportunity to try something new. So try it out. If you have something in mind, then do it in new school. Why not? We're finally at the point of the piece where I do the shadow underneath the leaf. As you can see here, it is not totally underneath, but a little bit to the side, and that is because my light source's focal point is hitting right here. Now the light source isn't hitting face first right on straight into the mango's eyes. It is actually, if you can imagine it, over your head and a little bit to the left. Then it would cast the shadow on the opposite side of the object, which would be the leaf in this case. But other than that, there's no other elements of the design that are protruding out enough to cast a shadow behind it. So that shadow is really going to be the only part that has the highest point of contrast in the overall piece. Other than that, I really don't have any more tips that I can think of off the top of my head. So if you guys have any tips or suggestions or ways that you do it, then definitely comment it down in the bottom. I'm always open to comments, concerns, ideas, anything like that. So all your comments and engagement is really amazing and helps me out a ton, because your girl runs out of ideas and I have no idea what to talk about. So I hope this is one of my more insightful videos and that you guys have learned a thing or two from it. But if you're drawing at the moment, I really hope you do a really great masterpiece. Enjoy it, post it, try new things, try the things I suggested, and go from there. Expand your horizons, guys. Because at some point in your career, I believe you'll discover things that you never knew were possible, that you were capable of, or even enjoyed as much as you're currently doing. It took me till much later in my career to actually figure out that I really enjoyed new school and lots of cartoony type stuff. So that's why I always preach the importance of trying new things, because you never really know what you're gonna end up with. And that's why this time period is so important for apprentices, because they're still fresh and they're still a sponge just taking in all this information. So trying out all these different styles will really help guide them the direction that they need to be going in or excel in. If you follow my first channel, you probably heard me explain this like 1,000 times, but when I was initially starting to tattoo, I was trying to go in more of the neo-traditional direction, and for some reason I was just so confused by it. I couldn't figure out how to do it. I just couldn't necessarily grasp the design concept, which is, quite familiar being an apprentice, because I was just seriously starting to get into designing a tattoo and composition and layout of a tattoo. But anyways, it wasn't until about a year into my apprenticeship, I had moved to a different studio, and the manager of that studio had actually mentioned to me, I think you're a new school artist. You should really try this. You should do this. And I brushed it off completely. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. But this is like the direction I want to go in right now. So I still continued to dabble in it. I was trying my best. Still couldn't necessarily grasp it now that I'm looking back at that time period. I was like, what the hell was I drawing? Anyways, flash forward 3 more years, moved to a different city and, just in a whole different environment, feeling like I was stuck, trying to grasp at something that will, help me improve or motivate me again, because I was just stuck doing the same basic designs. Nothing was really exciting me at this point. So then I dabbled in the new school again because I had remembered, she told me to try this out, so maybe now is the time to try that. Sure enough, once I tried it out, I was like, oh my god, this is actually so much fun. I had no idea, but now it makes sense why she told me this, because I am actually really good at it, especially when it comes to color. I just have such an eye for it. And it was actually the only style that flipped on that creative light switch for me and motivated me to challenge myself, try new things, and dive a little deeper into the style. Whereas all the other styles I was trying just really didn't do that for me for some reason. But deep down, new school actually made me feel motivated or excited. Super excited. So excited that I went on this huge binge of making new school flash sheets and coloring and designing. I had finally found my place, the design, the style that I was meant to create. It was really a light bulb moment for me. I finally figured it out, and this can take many years for many different artists. You never really know where you're gonna end up, like I said earlier. So it was quite a relief to me actually that I had found out what style I like doing most, especially because I came into tattooing not knowing how to properly compose a tattoo. I was actually originally teaching myself color realism just at home in my free time. But once I was finally ready to dip my toes in and join the tattoo career, I was like, ooh, neo-traditional. That's the first one that stood out to me. It was popular at the time and I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to jump on that bandwagon, but I low-key sucked at it. I literally could not understand why I just couldn't grasp it. It was so frustrating, but I'm glad I went down this journey. I figured it out, and here I am. You guys get to see the lovely product of the time I've spent in the industry, and I really hope you guys have taken something from my videos and maybe discovered some new things about yourself and new things that you enjoy or are interested in. Unfortunately, it is one of those processes that takes time and effort and a lot of hard work, but at the end of the day, you will feel the fruits of your labor. Is that the saying? I hope it is. But you will definitely feel really completed and excited about what's to come next. So that being said, if you are new here and really enjoyed my content, I would really appreciate some feedback and letting me know what you think or what I should do next. What should I talk about next? I don't even know. There's so many different things to talk about, and definitely think of subscribing, liking, sharing, doing all that kind of stuff, because it really does motivate me to create more and, take care of my audience. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to teach. I want to be a source of inspiration and motivation for you all. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed my ranting, my tipping, all that kind of stuff, and really enjoy the final product of this piece. I know I love it. It's absolutely adorable and crazy, so I hope you guys do too. And I will see you in the next video. Enjoy, goodbye, all that, and I love you guys so much. Thank you for all your support and kindness during this process of me creating on YouTube. See you next time.